So someone was asking how they could make a visible laser scope guide thing or whatever. So let's say we have a scope, like a laser pen on here, and it'll shoot until it gets to a point and not be able to get through because there's a wall. So it won't be able to get past there. So the first part is, let's just draw a line actually. Let's go into paint mode, let's make it red and small, because this will dictate how thin the laser is, and then we'll use a rule flex thing, which will go, when you start, it'll put down a starting point, and then when you let go again, that will be the end of the line. So if we go like that, and this will be the maximum distance it can go, so let's make that quite far. And then we'll add a laser scope, we'll just stick it on there, and we'll put it, we'll move it so that the beginning is at the dot, like that, and we'll rotate that down and make it really short, and then use this part. So you can see the arrow part is the main range. So if I just show you what that does, so that sends a signal while it's hitting something. So if I move this, and you can see that's where it's hitting with this little green arrow, and then when it's not hitting anything, it's sending 0, sending nothing. But what we really want is to get a sense of the distance, so that we can change the length of this paint stroke. So we're going to, first let's take it down, put some more in line, and really you'd probably want to do all this with the grid, and you'd probably place the scope down first and then make the paint match it, things like that. So if we make the range, which is the arrow, as short as possible, if you put it to 0, the fall off works strangely, so you may need to put this to 0.1, and then you can drag this all the way to the end, or just increase the value in this slider, and then we'll try and match that. Now the player probably won't notice if this is slightly off, but you know, in general it's better to have this all matching and lining up using the grid, things like that. So so that still hasn't done anything. Now we just have like a relative distance of compared to the full laser scope. So now if the wall is at the end, it's at 0, and as the wall is getting closer to the start of that fall off, it's going to 1. So we have this kind of general loosey-goosey sense of how far away it is, but that's exactly what we need to make this become longer and shorter. So here we can use the same signal with that roughly how far away it is, and plug it into one of these settings. So we have the start point, which means all the strokes in that painting will not start at the beginning of their strokes, but along the stroke. So if this was like a windy painting, then it would start along that path, and the same for the end. So if you look at the end, you can make that shorter, and that's what we want to do. The thing is, this will be smaller, a higher number, the closer it is, but then we want this to be shorter instead of longer. So we want to make a keyframe that makes this really short, so that when this is closer to the start of the laser scope, this will be made shorter like that. We actually first have to plug it in, because of course we do. Let's move this closer. So if you wire that straight into the power, then the more this is powered, the more short the general laser will be. So now we can move it away and move it towards, and it's never going past the this point here. And we can even let it go a little bit into it because the wall's quite thick. But there you go. So if we group all this like that, we can even rotate this around and it will still work fine and stuff like that. And for when it's shooting off into the distance, maybe we want it to fade out instead of it being very crisp at the end. So so let's scope in here, and we can actually turn on a setting that makes it fade out. So at the end of the stroke, it fades out. So it actually fades out even over there. So that might be fine for what you want, or you might only want it to happen when it's not hitting anything like that. In which case, we can say if we're from this, if we're getting a value that's more than 0.99, like that, as in 1 or beyond basically, then we'll turn on that setting. So let's have a keyframe that turns that on. Normally it'll be off, but then when this is powered, it'll turn on. And then we'll power it when we're not hitting anything. It's actually, when we're not hitting anything, it'll be 0 when it's, so let's do that. If it's equals 0, let's try that. And then we'll rotate the whole thing. So that should be crisp. And then we look beyond, and then it fades out like that. That's cool. I'd like to thank Evil Keymao, Dead MC, X Cantaloupe, and all of my other supporters for making this tutorial possible. Check out tapjars.com to find out how you can support me in helping Dreams creators. Thanks for your consideration, and I'll see you in the next one.